Welcome to Rose City, the After Show, the podcast where we dive into the world of the popular novel Rose City by author Corenna Khieu. In each episode, we will be discussing a different aspect of the book, from the complex characters to the intricate plot twists and everything in between. Make sure to check out Rose City on Kindle Vella, the app, to stay up to date as we explore unique perspectives and insight on the story. Today, we will start off with some nice news from Kyrie Nikita.
My name is Kiri Nikita, and our nice news of the day is about how children who are loved have better heart health in adulthood. While love doesn't make the world go round as much as we would like, both happiness and feeling loved can have an impact on a person's life and physical well being. In fact, researchers have found that teenagers who are happy and feel loved are more likely to have better heart health as adults. In a research examination, researchers examined over 3,000 American high school students with an average age of 16. The 3,000 plus teenagers were split nearly evenly with male and female participants. The evaluation examined the group for one of five positive psychological assets: feeling loved, self esteem, belongingness, happiness, and optimism. It also assessed seven biological markers for heart health in the group as adults when they were in their late 20s and 30s, examining such things as total cholesterol, blood pressure, and body mass index. What the researchers discovered was that the teens who had four or five positive mental health assets were more likely to maintain a healthy lifestyle later on in adulthood. If you would like to read more about this study, we will link the article in the description. And if you would like to wake up to nice news, you can subscribe to the Nice News newsletter at nicenews.com. And now I will pass it over to Corwin for our quote of the day.
Corwin can wait for a second. I have some nice news. I want to say that I think you look very beautiful this morning, as you always do, my wonderful friend. And Alicia won't be here today. She has a doctor's appointment, but she'll be back again next week. And she looked quite amazing last week, and she was a wonderful addition. So I just had to give it up to my ladies, bringing the sex appeal. Okay. And Corwin, you look nice.
So you look all right.
Well, thank you to the Russian Mall. I appreciate your thoughts. Anyways, the quote of the day is from Friedrich Nietzsche, and it is, "Nobody is more inferior than those who insist on being equal." You do the math on that one, ladies.
Well, what was your interpretation? Because that's so strange that nobody is more inferior than a person who wants to be equal.
I'm going to let everyone kind of think about that one for themselves, and you apply it how you see
You know,
fit.
I think you're being a little misogynist this morning. Um, but your father taught you well.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, we'll be right along. All right. So we heard Corwin's quote of the day, which we don't really know what that meant, but we're here. Okay. So this episode this week was episode 4, which was Friday night, the club opening part 1. So we will be talking about a few things. What were you guys' thoughts about Malia? Did she come off a little insecure in this episode, or do you feel like she was just dealing with some personal issues?
I felt that Malia, I think that she has kind of a hard on for Erica, and I can understand why. However, I think that Eva was just trying to be a good friend, to try to bring her friends back together again. And all she got for was attitude and hairspray. And I just think that Malia or Mel, I think she just kind of needs to say, hey, let's bury the hatchet. We are kinfolk. So let's just, kind of go back to being friends and family again. Let's just stop the madness. Apparently, Erica thought enough about her to pick her up in her tricks, Bentley truck. So apparently, she's like, okay, she is worth more than me, you know, like scooping her up in my Yaris and whatnot. So, I think that I did definitely think that she needs to bury the hatchet. I mean, let's be honest, man. Who can keep a beef when you're in the back of a Bentley?
Um, I don't
Corbin's
agree. I
a
don't
mess.
agree. But just to start out, I feel for Malia, and you can tell when somebody's been through a lot in their lives when they have a lot of insecurities, they're overthinking things, and do I look good, or does this look okay, or is this gonna, that comes from a little bit of trauma, where you've been overly scrutinized, or this complex has been put on you that you got to look this way, or you got to be representing yourself well. And if you're not, then you're going to shame your family, or you're going to make this person look bad, or, whatever. And about Erica, absolutely not. I don't, when somebody has showed you toxic behaviors and you've forgiven them, you've given it another try, and they still act a certain way, I don't care if you're coming picking me up or not, because they're obviously benefiting from the relationship. So why would they not come pick you up? And I feel like Erica gets a kick out of making Malia cry and squirm and, feel some type of way. So if she gets a thrill out of that, of course she's going to come and escort her to the party, make sure that she's there. So yeah, I definitely would have met that in that car. I feel like Malia should have drove herself, or, had Antonio scoop her up or whatever, but no.
So
That
what my take on it was, and Corwin, where are you at? Because I don't even see you. But anyway, my take on, like, she was really questioning herself because she's been through so much in the last few months. This is somebody who almost seems like she's at a real breaking point emotionally, mentally, physically. She was getting ready for finals. She hadn't been sleeping. She's getting dressed in the mirror. She's looking at herself. So, like, the way that she feels isn't how she looks on the outside. And she was like really shocked. Like, she felt like she had withered away. Like, she was so broken that she just didn't feel great about herself at all. She's getting ready to go to this club opening with her friends. There was just so much internal turmoil going on within her that she really wasn't really feeling like she was projecting her best self. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from. And like you said, Kyrie, it's when you come from a certain world where you have to have this together. This has to look a certain way. That has to be put together. It doesn't allow you to be a full human being where you are having your lived experience and you're like, nope, today's just not a good day. Coming from certain families and certain organizations, that's not something that you can say. You always are taught to put on your strong face. You're always taught to not really acknowledge the emotional aspect of what you're going through. Tell everybody you're fine and move on. And so I think that in itself is something that a lot of women struggle to do. I think as emotionals, everybody's like, women are so emotional. And maybe we can be, but I think a lot of times we find ourselves pulling back, always saying that we're okay because we don't have a safe space to be like, no, I'm not okay. And this is why I'm not okay. She starts to go back over the last few weeks of her life. She starts to go over, like, she has this third location for her boutique that's opening up, and something goes terribly wrong, and the money is now gone. And she's stressing out about that because now you have people who are like, you signed contracts to say that you were going to fulfill certain things by a certain day and time. And now that's not being done. And now you start to be like, am I going to get sued? Like, it's a lot. So I think her insecurities were definitely valid with everything that she's been through. And as for Erica, we're gonna get to a little bit more about her later on. so because she definitely is not a very nice person. So the next part, we wanted to go into about Antonio and his feelings about Malia. If Corwin is around, why would a man hold back? If you feel a certain way, what is the purpose of holding back? And so since Corwin apparently isn't here,
No, I'm
Corwin
here.
does best.
No, I'm
So
here.
where's your face?
I might just have
Oh,
to
you are here.
move rooms. Yeah. So honestly,
Okay.
I definitely understand. Yeah. So I definitely understand why Antonio has held back. Sometimes you feel like you have this duality of a life. So you're one part bad guy, one part the woman the man, that male wants. The problem is that, unless you're willing to give up that street life, or the life that she just doesn't know, that you're never going to have her. And if you do have her, that means that you have given it up. You've given up to other women. You've given up the way you make your money. And so I think for Antonio, it's a very complex thing, because he's like, this is still who I am, and I still have time to do what I need to do. And if I decide to get with her, then all of this is gone. So it's really kind of a conundrum with how to live his life and be who he is. And I really feel bad for the guy. However, I will say this. It seems to me that his story reminds me of somebody, with the law stuff and the kind of one foot in, the one foot out. It was kind of, I don't know, it sounded kind of familiar to me. But I'll just say that I feel bad for the guy, because I definitely think that he wants to be with her, but he knows that he's just not in the right frame of mind. So, instead of just breaking her heart, which some of the people will do, he decided that, nah, Mr. Beatty, nah. Until I can get myself right, I just won't be with her. So yeah, I kind of dig that, I think he's being a stand-up bloke.
I don't even know what to say in regards to that. And Corwin, where do you keep going? Why are you disappearing? And where's your clothes at? Like, I'm trying to understand why you have a shirt on. Okay, in regards to that, I kind of wonder. I mean, yes, chapter 4 goes on to talk about how Malia is Antonio's dream girl. He's been in love with her since he was, in middle school, and she's seen him more like as a brother versus like a romantic interest, because he's always been there in a role of like a protector. He's always looked out for her. He's always been there. But could it just be that maybe he's looking for another commodity? I mean, this is somebody who is very much in love with the world that he's in. He's really representing like the premise of this story, which is people wearing a mask. You know what I mean? Like, there's this double side to what's going on here in Rose City. People appear to be one thing, but they're really not who they say that they are. And we are really now starting to get a taste of that in chapter 4 with this grand opening of Antonio. You know, he's an attorney, right? And he's doing big things, and he's well respected as a businessman. However, the only reason why he is completing this lifelong goal of owning his own club, which he decided he wanted to just buy like an entire building and do like restaurants on one floor, a club on another floor, which is very ambitious. There's nothing wrong with being a boss. There's nothing wrong with ambition. But the sole purpose was to launder money from his drug and his gun business. He is a type of man who is in the streets heavy. By him being an attorney, gives him an advantage of how to like maneuver around certain legal loopholes so that he could be more of a menace to our society. Really, I mean, he uses his law degree to protect his underworld street life. So, does he really love this woman? I mean, it's nice to say that in theory that you're my dream girl or you're somebody that I love, but I think sometimes people fantasize about certain life and like who they would like to be in another world, and maybe in another world where he was a straight edged guy who wasn't in the drug and gun business, basically with his own cartel. Maybe she would be the perfect person for him. But clearly, she can't be your perfect dream girl, but that's the lifestyle that you want to live. So to me, I feel like his dreams, his life, that's more important than creating a relationship. What are your thoughts, Kyrie?
Well, I'm interested to know Antonio's backstory, what his childhood was like and the experiences that he had, because I feel like that can really connect you with why people make certain moves in their life, because it's like, people have these goals and ambitions as they get older, and then they get compromised, by different things that you encounter along the way. So I kind of feel like that may be what happened with Antonio, just thinking about it on a deeper level. And then it's just like, okay, I have to choose this, I have to choose that. But what Antonio did is kind of split himself so he can maintain his life in both worlds, so you kind of see that with a little bit of a split personality type of person. So, I guess I don't want to give away any spoilers, but, definitely interesting. But I think I would like to know a lot more about, where he came from.
Definitely. I think he's a very interesting character because there was a part in the book that was saying that he's such a split character that not even his own mother really recognizes him. Like, if he hasn't told you who he was, you don't know. So he's really good at wearing that mask. He's really good at being the person that he wants to portray himself to be. So I think that's really, really interesting. So let's skip down because I think we've, kind of covered his feelings and their relationship and friendship. Let's talk a little bit about Eva. So this chapter really kind of brings in her world with like her friends and other things that we're starting to see. And so she has a friend named Eva who is helping her with her business right now, and she's was dating a guy named Giovanni, and he kind of did her dirty. What are your thoughts, Carrie, about Giovanni?
I don't like him. And I don't know what it is about women that, we get done dirty and we still, oh no, he didn't mean to, whatever. And then he does it again. And oh no, I forgive him. He didn't mean to. And we're not really getting anything out of the relationship, So aside from good looks, I don't know why, Eva held on to him as long as she did. But, I hope she gets away and stays away. So.
Definitely. Corbin, what are your thoughts? If you're even there at this point.
Well, I'm here. Honestly, I think that, I think that, first of all, I think that the name Giovanni, I think that says it all. I think that she knew she had a playboy, but, let's be honest about it, ladies. A woman will stay with a man, whether he's a cheater, whether he's a wife beater or whatever. And I don't mean to be fresh mouth, but I'm gonna be honest with him. This is just what I've been told from some women, that he makes me come, or that, he can, he takes me out and he buys me some, something expensive. I think it's craziness because I've never heard a man say that he stayed with a woman who was cheating or doing him wrong because of she has some good box. But I've heard of women saying that because he has a big penis or whatever, and he can make me come like multiple times, that that is the reason why I'm with him, or he's good arm candy. And so you have women who stay with bad men based on those traits. And it's like, is that all he can do? Like, I'm a doughboy, but I like to be get active too. You dig?
I'm so done with you. I'm so
letting you guys know, but this is true. This is the Gospels, and women don't want to hear this. So all of this, I'm looking for a good man. I think some women truly are, but I think some women are looking for something that they never had before. And if what they never had before is a 9 to a 12-inch penile and whatnot, that's all that she's after. She's not really after it. Is going to be a good provider? No, listen to me. No, please. No, please. No, please. What I am saying is, women say that they want a good provider. They want somebody who is going to protect them and make them feel to feel safe. But what ends up happening is at some point, all that goes out of the window, and it's more about the sexual high than it is about, is he going to do these other things for me? I think that she stayed with with this man because he was handsome. Probably in her mind, no one else looked as good enough for her as this man did. So that's the reason why, because keep in mind, if he did her so wrong, then why could she possibly be texting him on the phone? Why?
Texting somebody who you caught cheating on you doesn't mean that you're not
stop. Oh, see, you know what? You guys prove my point. Thank you much. I appreciate you. Love you.
It's almost a love you. We didn't prove anything, and we don't really know the full backstory behind not Malia, but Eva and Giovanni. All we know is that Giovanni is a very attractive model, and she happened to walk in on him kissing another model at a photo shoot, and at that point she decided to cut ties with him. At this point he's sending her poems and he's sending flowers and he's doing all these romantic gestures. But to me it seems that Eva is over it. Like, yeah, she reads the text messages, but I think at some point it was like she doesn't even respond to it. And Malia's asking questions like, well, what's going to happen with this situation? I mean, she seems very much over it. And Corwin's whole women stay for the penile, I'm just a little bit lost because you haven't said anything about like hope or love or commitment or even like, I feel like a lot of women give chances because they think I've expressed how bad this has hurt me. I've talked to him about it. He seemed like he really got the fact that he broke my heart, and maybe I can trust him again because he's a human being. I don't want to hold this against him. You know what I'm saying? And they give a chance or too many chances. And then it keeps happening over and over and over. This whole thing about what somebody can do for you in the bedroom, I don't think that's the only thing that people are concerned about here. Because I know a lot of women who have stayed in situations and they weren't even happy sexually. They're like, he does nothing for me. I take care of me. But they're still with somebody, even though they're not even happy with that. They love him. So I don't think that was the case with Eva and Giovanni. Seemed like she was pretty strong to walk away from the situation.
Yeah, and Corwin, just because somebody looks at a text message it's fair to grieve a relationship, especially when you were led down a path of, you didn't know that there was a problem, that he was having these urges to be with somebody else. And, oftentimes in certain spaces and jobs like modeling, there are drugs involved, so even though it might be something that he would normally do, if he was on something and, feeling a little different, then, those things tend to happen in those environments. So I just feel like it's fair to that women, if even men, we'll sit and look at a text and be wondering if we text back because we're remembering the good times, we're remembering the happy times, and you kind of have to sever that cord, and it takes a minute. So
I fully agree.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You are such a damn joker. I can't stand you. Okay, so we touched a little bit on Malia's third store opening and it was canceled. We don't want to give away any spoilers, but what do we think happened, and this, whatever this is with this third store being opened, not being open now, it's being canceled. Like, what do we think is happening here? What do we think that has happened that has led her to this cancellation or has put her in this position now where she's really worried about this? Like, she talked a little bit about her financial troubles and not really being fully out the woods. Any thoughts?
yeah, I definitely think it's a financial issue, which, mostly when you're opening a new location, it's a lot of finances that go into that, and unexpected expenses come into play, whether, you knock down a wall and there was mold, or, all of your supplies didn't come in, and, setback after setback. So it could be a number of things, you never really know. So, but that it fully got canceled, interested to see what happened.
Definitely. She seemed to be very, very upset about it. I don't know. I kind of got the sense of something deep had happened, that it was just very, very unexpected. And we're definitely going to see a little bit more about that and what was all involved in this, because this part of the book starts to take center stage. It starts to usher her into a whole new era, because now she's going to have to make some decisions and some choices on how does she go about fixing whatever this situation was that led to the cancellation of this third location. And so we're going to see some different players start to emerge, and they will become quite interesting people. So on to the next part, which Corwin had touched a little bit on with Erica. Erica is Malia's god sister, and there's been a bit of a beef. So what we're seeing in episode 4 is Eva's trying to bring some form of reconciliation. Eva's been in Malia and Erica's life since they were all like, very, very young. So they've grown up with each other. They all feel very much like this is family. It may not be blood, but it definitely feels that way. So she's trying to reconcile this relationship. She's like, hey, like maybe she can come and pick us up, and they'll like give you an opportunity to talk, because we do know once you go to a club, there's a lot of loud music going on. a lot of people, a lot of energy. So there's not always like time to necessarily talk about what happened. There's some kind of a fallout that has happened, and it involves a guy by the name of Justin. Let's talk about Justin just for a second. He is another person I think who embodies the Rose City underlying premise of like this double faced person, this two faced character. He presented himself to be one thing, and by the end of the night, it was all a mess. Let's start with you, Kyrie, and then we'll work on Corwin's thoughts.
Um, I just anytime I just think about Justin, they're just I just wanna, and I just really Malia, she really got on my nerves in this scene a little bit, as much as I love her, because she does too much damn talking. And it's like, I would have headbutted that fool and need him in his private area and got the heck out of there. Not, oh, what are you doing? What are you, no, the fight is on. You done rode up on me the wrong way in my personal space. You wanted this. You wanted what they call, you wanted the smoke, And so I'm just like, Malia, if you don't kick his A, like, why are you still, this is too much talking for me. So yeah, Justin would have been hurt if that was me. So I hope Malia learns how to boss up a little bit and stop doing so much talking and trying to figure out what's going on before she reacts. Sometimes you just got to act first and ask questions later.
So Corwin, what were your thoughts on Justin's actions?
Contrary to popular belief, I believe that Justin was out of line for what he did. I think that if he wanted to make a move on her, then he could have, but he didn't have to do it one in a bathroom stall. And he certainly didn't have to call her out of her name and all that. He was totally out of line. I think that for Justin, he plays this good guy role similar to Antonio, of that I'm somebody that you can trust and you can let your perm down around. But the truth be told is these guys really are predators. And it really is a good indication of some of these people that women think are such nice guys. And maybe I should give them a chance. The fact is, everybody should be given a chance, even somebody who you don't think is such a great guy, because you never know. In this situation, like I said, to me, Antonio and Justin, they both have other lives and other parts of their personality that are now coming to light in for Mel. Now she doesn't know a lot about what Antonio does on the side, but I think in time that's going to be revealed too. And that's not and that's not a spoiler alert, because I actually haven't read that far in the book. But I do understand that he's not the nice guy that he plays himself out to be either. But I do think I think that Miss Russia was correct. I think that Mel gave him too much time and conversation. I think once he began to act out, she should have went into kill mode and should have jabbed his eyeballs out. I think that he was out of line, and I definitely think she should tell Antonio so he can get that smoke.
And that was a topic that we had this morning before getting on the call. That it was just like, okay, so for some of you guys who are getting into chapter 4, what happens is Antonio invites Malia, and I believe it was Wendy, right? They all went to a lounge, and he had a friend who was coming from out of town who's from the Portland area. And so they're all meeting up there, they're talking, and Malia and Justin are having a vibe. He's feeling her, she's feeling him. Of course, Malia, the daydreamer that she is, she's kind of going off into this daydreaming. She's kind of feeling like, ooh, I'm liking how he's touching my hand and all that. But then she's kind of thinking about like this whole dream thing that she has going on with this dream guy. And she's like, I need to stop dreaming and I need to live in the moment. So she's like, I want to take the chance. I really want to give this guy, Justin, the opportunity to show himself to me. He seems really nice. I mean, he's got a good paying job. He seems like he has benefits. Not that so much that she needs it for herself, but he's just showing that, like, he's been to college, he's did all this stuff that quote unquote you're looking for. He comes off as a very nice, sexy gentleman. And Malia ends up going to the bathroom and he pushes the stall door open and a whole argument ensues. And I don't want to give out too much of it because I want you to see it and I want you to react as well to it, right? But he comes at her in a very disrespectful way, and he just like he pushes himself on her. You know what I mean? And she didn't ask for that, and when she was not interested, then he turned. And I think that like Kyria, you could probably identify with this as well as being a lady. But sometimes if a person sends a advance your way and they think that you're all for it, and it could just be something simple that there's a switch and it flips quickly, and then all of a sudden you become the B word, you become a hoe, you just become everything, and you're like, who's this guy that I mean I've been talking to, and now I'm getting called out of my name. And it is interesting that Malia didn't attack. And some people are like, I'm not a fighter, but whatever, right? But it's interesting to me that she just, her intuition was just run, flee for your life, right? But she didn't go back to the table and tell Antonio, hey, your friend attacked me. And why is that though? Why is it that a lot of times, like I think that we live in a society where people are like, everybody's crying rape these days, where there is a good majority of the population that crazy stuff happens to, and you don't say anything because you know when you open your mouth, you won't even be believed. And I don't know what that's about. And go ahead.
And I agree. You hit the nail on the head right there. You open your mouth and you won't be believed. And I feel like that's what Malia was feeling. And I was gonna say, I also feel like Antonio is a little bit to blame too, because Malia doesn't know about his other lifestyle. And if she knew about his other lifestyle, she would question his friends more. She wouldn't be so open. Like, she believes Antonio is a stand-up good guy in society. So of course he's going to hang out with men that are like him, because she doesn't know his other lifestyle. But if she did, then she would be more reluctant to be like, let me figure out who this character really is, before I get involved with him because of what Antonio does. So.
Now, I would like to add on to that, if I may, because I have to be honest with you. I think this is indicative of Mel's personality, that she is attracted to people who really are bad for her, but she thinks they're good. I think there's something wrong with her men detection, detector. Now, some women don't really want to hear that, but it's the truth. There's something going on, that she seemed to think that these guys are nice people and they really are dirtbags and whatnot behind closed doors. Now, I will say, because I do understand the old adage of a wolf in sheep's clothing, but for somebody who's so smart and really was concerned about the Russian man, because she's so scared that he was going to harm her and be her pimp or whatever was going on, that she then lets her guard down to these other two. And the one guy was a darn near, a darn near, on the rapist and whatnot, kick and whatnot. So, and the other one is a drug dealer and a gun runner. So, I think I think where she is getting her information for who is safe and who's not is kind of off. And I'll just leave it at that. And you can look at crazy if you want to, Corenna. I'm just telling it like it is, sis.
So how is she supposed to know? They're sitting down having a drink, having a regular conversation, and he's not coming off like, oh, I'm about to, as soon as you walk out of eyesight, you're mine. He's not giving those vibes. Malia's not a mind reader, and you're giving vibes of those guys that point and say it's the woman's fault. She should have known better. You know what I'm saying? And how is she supposed to know, Corwin?
Not at all. And there is no way that I'm trying to blame the victim here, because Mel was the victim with the attack in the bathroom. So let me put that out there. She is a pure victim, and Justin is a complete criminal, absolute criminal. But at the same time, Malia is so scared of the Russian man because he seems like he's going to do something to harm her, but then she doesn't seem to get that same vibe. And does it really, I guess, come down to conversation, right? Because Malia spent 5 minutes with the Russian guy, and she automatically thought that he was the worst thing going, right? Even though he bought her lunch and he was going to, treat her and all this other stuff, he was a bad guy. But her vibe told her, Justin, he's a great man, and at Tina, he's the business. And they both are actually worse than the Russian guy. That's all I'm trying to say, is that
she was scared of these other, of this one guy, but the other two, she seemed to let her defenses down, and they are the actual wolves.
Well, Malia didn't even say she was scared of the Russian guy. She just thought he was an interesting character. So maybe you should have read that chapter. But anyway.
Sis, we both know that baby girl got into the car. He was looking around and she said, I hope he didn't get my plate number. What do you mean?
Because he was aggressive. Because he was aggressive, bro.
He was upfront about who he was and what he wanted. Those other two punks, they are the ones who are kind of hiding behind this facade that really is more dangerous than she actually knows. Now, the one guy who is into drugs and guns, Antonio, that's how they find you, chopped up in your bathtub. The Russian man, I think personally, he had a legitimate business that she didn't have to be concerned about. If we see his enemies in the street, he's gonna blow our brains out. Now, I'm just saying. Now, I mean,
I think you're the one with a bad read on people. I think you're the one.
Whatever. Moving on.
I'm done with you, Corwin. That was a lot that Corwin said. I'm just trying to keep up with it. I think the difference between Justin and Luca was there was a sense of feeling comfortable with Justin because this is Antonio's friend. And she doesn't know who Antonio is. She doesn't know this whole other mafioso persona. She has no clue about that. But she sees him as the big brother. She sees him as her protector. He's only shown her the good side of him. She's known him since middle school. They went to school together. They went to private school, in high school together. Their families, you'll start to see later on, they're all a part of this like social society circle, whatever. And certain families who have a little bit more money all hang together, right? So she feels like she knows this man very well. I mean, she wouldn't think that a man that she's known since she was a child, who's now a prominent attorney in their city, would be hanging out with men who would attack women in bathrooms. But I think it goes back to me more of the feeling of not being able to speak up for yourself. Malcolm X said this, and some people say that's not true, but that Black women are the most unprotected women in America. And I remember when I first heard that statement, I think I was 10 or 11 years old, and I was like, what? That's crazy, right? But as I've gotten older, I've seen these things play out time and time again, where there is a feeling that Black women can't be victims of anything because we're so strong. And I think where people get the confusion of being strong is a lot of times you're strong because you have no other choice. Or there's this whole like Black women can't be victims of assaults or violence because they'll fight back or because they're naturally aggressive. And I've been talking to people and I'm saying, when we start talking about people who have some hood ways about themselves or some ghetto ways or whatever, or use more masculine energy, we have to first ask ourselves, where is this person from? Like Kyrie was saying earlier, we have to start looking into people's backgrounds. How were they raised? What was their family life like? A lot of people that you think are aggressive or have hood tendencies are people who really survived maybe dangerous environments where they had to, learn to protect themselves. And like I like to watch Discovery Channel, and there are certain animals that when they get ready to have to fight, in order to scare their prey, they'll start to puff themselves up. Like a gorilla will even beat their chest, you know what I mean? As a sign of like, if you come from me, I'm about to bring this heat, right? And so sometimes we notice that even with women, that women sometimes maybe come off as very edgy or cold because they're trying to protect themselves from all the things that they have seen either happen to other people around them or their own personal experiences where they've had to be victims. So if you see somebody that you think is exuding super masculine energy or they're super hood, you have to ask yourself, where are they from? What was their experiences like? Maybe this person's traumatized. Sometimes you see people like, she's so soft spoken and she's so sweet. Maybe that person's life might have been a little bit different. Maybe they might have been a little bit more sheltered. Maybe they had adults in their lives who stood up for them when they should have been stood up for. When you have to fight for yourself constantly, it can make you a little bit more aggressive. And that's a person who should be working on doing some healing from that. Again, Corwin, how would Malia know that Justin is this bad guy? Again, you were all team, Chris the barista, in chapter 2, and she should give an opportunity. Here, this man is coming to her, and he seems like a nice guy, and she's willing and open to get to know him, and possibly even start dating this person, and then an attack goes down in the bathroom. And I guess the saddest part to me is that she always, in these situations that we're seeing, there's a feeling of, I can't talk about it. There's a feeling of like, if I say this and I slander this black man who everybody else thinks is such a great guy, they're going to turn around and Robin Givens me. They're going to turn around and turn this around on me. Like, look what we see with Megan Thee Stallion. How does a woman go and get shot by a friend, but now she's the liar? Everybody was saying, we can't wait for this trial to be over because it's going to prove that this woman lied. The trial is over, and the trial has proved that she was in fact the victim. And people are like, oh, it was rigged. It was rigged. But this goes back again to, why can't a woman be the victim, especially a black woman? Why can't she be a victim and say that these things are happening to me? Because a lot of times when something happens to us, we're not even believing that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So it's easy to write it off. It's really, really easy to write it off. Any other thoughts before we move on? Well, let's talk about Erica. So Erica played a part in this scene as well. And like I said, don't want to give away too much of what happens because you definitely want to check it out for yourself and see. But again, there's history here between Erica, Malia, and Antonio. Erica is Malia's god sister, so they know each other. Erica was involved in an incident as well in that bathroom. And it just became a real ugly situation. And for Malia, I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I feel like you will see, and as she kind of reflects on different things that have happened, Erica has done some very devious things to her. She's always been, she'll throw shade or go out of her way to maybe say, like, almost like a little kid, when you have a toy, I want your toy. We could both have the same exact Kenya doll, because I used to play with my little Kenya dolls when I was a little girl. My grandma bought me one. Okay, so me and you both have the same Kenya doll, because Kenya doll was even matched up by skin tone. So I had the caramel one. That's what my grandma bought me. So if me and you both have that same caramel Kenya doll, but you take my doll, and it's like, what's happening? So we see Erica acting so much like a child, which I think would speak to, like, what was her childhood like? That every single time that someone has something, you are constantly trying to take it. It's like, I can have the same thing too, but I want what you have. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely get that vibe from Erica. And since they go back to children, I'm pretty sure it's been more than just this one instance where she has been involved with another relationship with Malia, and just because it seems like, just from what Malia said in the story, Erica just keeps coming for her. It's always a different situation where it seems to be an opportunity for Erica to hurt her. She probably was sitting there watching Malia talk to Justin, and be like, oh, I want that, and just, not that she wants Justin, just she wants to take something from Malia to hurt her, again. So I kind of got that feeling and that vibe, and she probably seemed a little proud of herself at the end of that transaction, at the end of the story. So like, yeah, now what you gonna do, So.
Well, I totally with you. And so Corwin had to exit. He has to go to another meeting. So thank you, Corwin, for your contribution to the Rose City After Show. But like Corwin had brought up something earlier. He was like, I laughed because he said the word trick, and my brother doesn't use the word trick. So I thought that was funny, that when, Erica picked up Malia and Eva, and she was riding in the Bentley. But I thought it was amazing that there's clearly been some beef. She's been clearly reaching out to Malia over the past few weeks since this incident took place at this lounge, and they haven't spoken. But right away, the girls get in the car, or the ladies, I should say, get into the car, and there's no like, hey, Like that to me is a big step after what took place in her agreeing to even get into the car with you. After all, I think of like the countless forms of abuse that, Erica has put on this young lady. And again, that will become more and more apparent as you read along. You're like, wow, Erica is a terrible person, right? But you'll start to see like, maybe some of these things aren't necessarily coincidences. It seems very much like things are planned, right? So if me and my friend, we haven't spoken in a while, I did something and she was extremely hurt and she hasn't been talking to me, but we have mutual friends. I'm going to all the mutual friends, talking to the mutual friends, like, I just really miss her and I'm just sorry and it's a misunderstanding. I'm doing all of this. But the moment this woman gets into the car to ride with me, I never even bring it up. Am I really sorry? I don't even say, hey girl, I know I've been reaching out to you and you haven't been talking to me and I get you're probably, still upset, but I want you to know, like, I love you. Again, I apologize. I want tonight to just go really, really good. Like, I really want us to start over. I really want us to focus on building and healing this relationship. There's none of that. They in the car, they riding, they talking, and Malia's in the backseat just drifting off, not wanting to even participate in the conversation, but it didn't seem like she cared either. So
I definitely agree that there was no attempt when she got in the car to say all the things that she had been saying to everyone else. And that's another reason why I felt like it was just an attempt to have somebody help her rope Malia back in, because she shunned her immediately when she got in the car. It wasn't like, oh, hey, sis, and let's talk about this for a second before we go out tonight. Because that would have been my approach. If I'm trying to get my friend back into the same vicinity to have a conversation, I would have parked that car, turned the keys off and just had a heart to heart real quick before we go out here and have to fake it at this party. We're not going to do that. I want you to be comfortable around me. And, here's my heart. Here's my position on everything. Please let me know how you feel, or we don't even have to do this, So I definitely agree.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that she's been going to all of Malia's super close friends, like Wendy, which you'll see that character emerge here very soon, and Eva, which is the character that you've seen emerge in this chapter. She's talking to everybody about Malia, but not talking to Malia about what happened. Like, she sent a couple of text messages, but it seems like she's playing the victim card here. She's not talking to me. I think you know where she lives. I think like where she works. Like, she could have pulled up on her at any moment and been like, look, that situation at that lounge that night, that was out of hand. I know what it looked like. I know that was not a very good situation. But even in that situation, she flashed on her and was like, get out, and it's like, I know she was embarrassed by what she was doing, but still, it's like, okay. And then let's jump to something that Justin told Malia while they were together in that bathroom before Erica, that if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. And it's like the whole mask that he had that was like this nice guy of, very sweet, very warm, somebody that she felt very comfortable and easy with, all of a sudden is pressing her in the bathroom, in a stall and not even like giving her time to understand, like, do I want to do something? I mean, if I did, why would I want it in a public bathroom, right? But he doesn't give her any time to like react or say, that's what I'm on, some freaky crap too, right? It was none of that. He took over and he tried to force her into something that wasn't what she wanted. And then he turned on her. He let her know it's going to be anybody else. So again, this was never about you felt some deep connection to me. This was always about you saw me as a commodity. You saw my body as something that you could use for your own personal pleasure. And then I guess I'll be tossed to the side too. And my girl Malia wasn't having none of it. None of it.
Yeah, and luckily he showed his A on the first encounter, because there have been many relationships, and I have been a part of one where, they don't show themselves immediately, and they play this long game. And then after they get you in and things are finalized, they're just this whole different person. And it's like, dang, you could have told me that we didn't have to waste this time, because I'm still not staying, so I I guess it's a blessing and a curse at the same time that, he acted the way he did, but thank goodness that he did. So Malia didn't have to waste her time getting her heart involved with somebody that just wanted to, add her to his roster, or use her for, what she could do for him. So.
And I think it's super interesting that, like, I'm sure, Antonio told Justin the type of person that, his friends were. I'm sure he probably knew, okay, she's just graduating, from this school for business, blah, 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 got her master's degree. She's open, she has businesses. Like, this is a really good, classy lady who's clearly ambitious, who's about her bag. She's not about chasing a man to get a bag, but she's like, I'll do the work that's necessary to live the life that I want to live. Because if you look over this chapter where it talks about how she's dressing and her watches and her jewelry and how, like, she takes pride in herself as a woman, and that it was something that her mother had taught her, you know what I mean? And so she's got this Tiffany's this or this diamond that, but it was just, you see this woman putting herself together. You see this woman who is buying her lifestyle. Like, she's not depending on somebody else to do it for her. She's making it happen herself. So he was clearly in a whole nother class of a type of a lady, and it didn't matter. It was like classic narcissistic behavior where it's like, I don't care who you are. Who are you? It was like he clearly just didn't even care that she was somebody who was like who's a classy lady. All he saw was, this is what I want from you. And I don't care about your degree. I don't care about your business. I don't care about them shoes you got on. I don't care about none of that. It's about me. And that's really sad. Like, I'm not saying that if she couldn't afford a Tiffany's or a Rolex or whatever, that she would deserve to be mistreated, because absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that him being a businessman and her being a businesswoman, you would have thought that maybe he was thinking, okay, this is somebody that I should look at as something more serious than just whatever I can get from you tonight. But clearly, Justin has a whole story that we know nothing about.
Definitely. Well, we have some fan questions if you're ready for that. Well, our first one is actually a shout out from Yadira. I hope I'm saying your name right. She says, I would love to read other stories that come from your head. I had slowly stopped reading, but before I had a man, I would read so much. I started making time for me again, and it has been amazing. You are the first book I have read in over a year. Thank you so much for making me want to keep turning the page. I can't wait to see what's next for Malia, Chan, and everyone else in their lives.
Thank you. That was very, very sweet of you. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear from people and their, like, perspective. And that was like, I didn't know what it was going to be. I put this out. Of course, my best friend's like, it's going to be a hit, And I was like, I hope. Like, I don't know though. And so since I put it out, I have been getting a lot of just really positive feedback from a lot of people, and just these characters really resonate with a lot of people. They see themselves or they know somebody like this, and it feels very real to them. So thank you, everyone who just takes the time to read the story, send in questions, and even, just continue on supporting us here with our podcast. So thank you for that.
Oh, yes. And if you haven't read it, read it. You will not be disappointed. I'm telling you, it is an amazing story. Our next question comes from Brenda in California. How many episodes of Rose City are available, and how often do you publish a new episode?
So right now we have 27 episodes, and we try to publish once a week. So that is a goal, a new chapter a week. And actually, I just got a chapter yesterday that I needed to upload, and so hopefully I'll get that done either today or tomorrow. So by the time that you guys are watching, this will be a week from now. So by that point, there'll probably be like 2 or 3 episodes uploaded at that point. Who knows? But yeah, we literally we're trying to give you consistent content. We want to keep the readers engaged because I've had people go from being like, oh, I'm at like chapter 4, and then a week later they're like, I'm on 16. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, So I'm like, we really want to make sure that we're being consistent. I love that when people like get excited about the story and they just start reading, like crazy. But I definitely want to make sure that we are giving you something every week so that you can keep tuning in. And then I think that this podcast also it helps as well. And we go over the different chapters and we talk about different things, and then we put ourselves like, how would we deal with certain situations? And we want to talk about that.
Yes, yes. This question comes from Stacy in Chicago. Is Erica jealous of Malia? Definitely, 100%, 111, 150, 200%, 200%.
I definitely think that there is some jealousy going on, even if it's not quite clear what it is right now in this chapter. But by the time we move on to the next chapter, where we get to, Erica's personality in this story is so, it's interesting. She's a very, very interesting character. And we already knew that her character was going to be something that was going to stir a lot of controversy. So what we did was we were like, let's give people a proper backstory on Erica. So I believe it's the next chapter where it is dedicated to her life. So it starts from like A to Z, and it really gives you an understanding of who this person is, what has happened in her life, what continues to happen in her thought process. And I think for a lot of viewers, once you read her story, you're gonna have some mixed emotions about Erica. You're gonna be like, and then you're gonna be like, oh, so there's gonna be a little bit of that, but you're gonna be like, yeah, we still don't like her. Do I feel there's jealousy? I definitely feel like there's some jealousy going on there. The way that she treated Malia. Again, you got to read that part for yourself because we can't do it justice because you need to know like for yourself. I'm telling you, when you get to reading that's when we get to that part, that's when I start like that's when my phone starts blowing up and people start sending me text messages like, no, she didn't. I mean, it's hilarious. Like I get calls, I get text messages like, do you know somebody who's ever done that? And I'm like, well, no. I mean, it's a story. Like I'm just being, creative writing, right? But I think that we all know someone in essence who's done something like that, or we know that people who have certain characteristics. So yeah, that's a section that you get to and you're just like, what is wrong with her? But so yeah, go ahead and definitely read it. But yeah, there's definitely something not right with Erica and her relationship with Malia. And if you're there at chapter 4, you might just be kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe she's just not a very nice person. But again, to me, what would draw me to there's a deeper issue is being in that car with my so-called friend that we know that there's been some issues between us that have been mounting for a while. You're telling everybody else about me how you feel, but you won't have that conversation with me. I always think that's very, very interesting when you share friends with people and people can feel a certain kind of way about you or something that's going on, but they won't tell it to you necessarily. They'll go into detail with everybody. They're so remorseful and they're so sorry. And sometimes if you're not careful, that is a tool of manipulation as well. It is being used to turn everybody else's thoughts and feelings toward this person negative because now everybody's seeing you as the predator and this person as the victim. For myself personally, if there's a problem going on, I tend not to want to get a bunch of other people involved because I think it can cause a lot of messiness and it gives other people opportunity as well to sabotage things if they want to, right? So I have the tendency to kind of just want to keep it to myself and talk to that person in private just so nothing gets lost in translation. I said it. You feel this way. We both feel this way. What are we going to do about it? Okay, nothing. Then let's move on. But I definitely feel like there's some jealousy that Erica is showing. And I think that in that episode, it came out. And I believe that there will be more things that will come out in later episodes that you're going to just be like, this person is really something else.
Yeah, and I feel like Erica's not the type that you can talk to, like you can sit down and have a decent conversation, with them and figure out your differences. She just doesn't seem like that kind of character. And, I don't condone fighting at all, but, some people, they just need a good A kick in and, they might rethink some things in their life, and like sometimes I wish that there was like a court system in place where you can go before the judge and be like, this person did A, B, and C, and you can get a free pass to whip that A, and just move on because, but I just feel like Erica and Malia might have a brawl later on in the book. I hope so. I'm wanting one because I just need Malia to get her licks back because Erica's been doing a lot, but.
I love it how you say that. There should be some kind of a court in place to sanction an ass whooping. Like, I think that is amazing. Like, so, Your Honor, do I have permission to beat her ass? I'm about to beat the brakes off her. I think that is amazing. Girl, people would be getting tore up. It would be left and right going crazy.
It would be a better world, honestly.
If they knew it was going to come to them and there was no charges filed, we all be out here acting a whole fool.
People would even pay for it. You know what I'm saying? Like they fine us for everything. Can we go to the court and file a paper so we can whip somebody's A? $50, $100, sure. I'll pay that fine. It's cool. So they're still making their money,
For sure. I love it.
So our next question is from Rachel in New York. Why won't Antonio just tell Malia how he feels?
I think we talked a little bit about that earlier, him wearing that mask. And, it's like, I wonder for myself, do you really love her? Do you really want to be with her? Because as long as they've been friends, to never have told her that, it makes me wonder, is she just that girl that you fantasize about? Is she that person that I ain't never going to have her, I ain't never even going to try it with her? But the idea of knowing that possibly I could, or allowing that fantasy to be in your head, I don't know, maybe for some people it does it for them. And also, let's be honest, a lot of male and females can't be friends. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that at all, because I do think that some people have male friendships, and I think that they're wonderful. But I think a lot of times men and women have a hard time being friends because you have people who are always attracted to the other person. And if opportunity, time, and space align, they're going for the shot. So it just makes me wonder, is it that Malia is so important to Antonio? Or is this a situation where he's a very good looking man and he's highly sought after? And is it a situation where you're wondering, hey, why she don't want me? Why she ain't run up after me like all the other girls do? Because sometimes I feel like it's also an ego boost. Like, I've seen guys go after women who they felt like, I don't think she would even give me the time of day. And then when she did, it was like, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, sis. And it was like, it did something for them. Like, it was so empowering to know that woman who I thought was just wants me, even though I'm never gonna step to her. I'm not ever going to put any real effort into that. I just thought she was a baddie, and to know that a woman like her would actually like me, it does something for the self-esteem. And I'm not gonna say like women don't get that as well. Like, if a man who a woman thinks is very attractive shows interest, and even if she's like in another situation or is not interested, sometimes it can be very flattering. So I'm not sure what Antonio's end game is, because it seems to me like he feels like he couldn't have her and have the street life. He couldn't have her and be the person that he is now, because he gets to have the best of both worlds. He's a well-respected attorney, so he's got the community and his colleagues who look at him with admiration, but then he also has the street world where the few people who do know who he is, he's very powerful, and he's got his own mob going. Like, he is the mafia, right? So he's operating in two worlds seamlessly. That's a lot to give up. He's got a drug and gun business, moving weight. He's respected. He can pick up the phone and call somebody and have the situation taken care of, right? If that's what it needs to be done. That's a lot of power to give up. And you talking about for a relationship. This is a man who has a fetish for different women and constantly is out there in the street. So I don't necessarily feel like Malia's love can turn him. You know what I mean? And I think that goes back to that ideal fantasy. I want to say trash. I'm tired not to be a savage, but this ideal fantasy thing, like my love can change him. My love, my understanding. If I talk like this, I can change it. No, you can't, sis. No, no, sis. Put it down. You can't change him. He is who he wants to be. If he wants to change, he's going to make certain changes. And I think that Antonio hasn't told Malia about his feelings because I think he knows at the end of the day, one, she's not going to want to be his friend. I mean, it says that Malia admires legit and honest, entrepreneurship. Like she's a lady who believes that if I work hard, play the game fair, good things in life are coming to me. Like that's her mindset. Work hard and do the work, and my life and everything that I want will happen because of that. If she finds out that this man that she's been friends with her entire life, he's now, he's a mafioso boss, she's not gonna look at him the same. Like she probably wouldn't even want to have dinner with him. Like I don't need somebody shooting up this restaurant trying to get to you and kill me, not me, right? So also the idea of a relationship would be off the table. No, 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 because DEA is going to be kicking in my door, any other of those alphabets. Nobody's the FBI, whoever, like nobody's kicking in my door. You know what I mean? Looking for you, looking for drugs and guns in my home. They're not going to have my phone tapped. So I think that for him, keeping this life a quiet secret means that he's able to just remain who everybody sees him as. And I think that when sometimes you are a narcissist, you like that power, you like that control, you like people seeing you as the person that you portray. And if they really saw you the way that you were, I think it bruises ego.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Antonio doesn't want to cross that line with Malia because he just wants to keep her in his life in any way that he can. And he knows that if he opens up to her, like you said, she's not going to be with it and she's going to want to have nothing to do with him. And so he's like, I can't tell her because I don't want to lose her, so. Yep.
Antonio is definitely a character that you want to watch out for. I think he's somebody in the storyline that there's a lot there, and we've touched on a lot, but it gets deeper than that, so continue to keep on reading because he's going to be a fixture throughout this story, and he's very intricate. He's a person that Malia she respects him. She sees him as a good friend. She sees him as like a good advisor. She has questions about different things, and so it's going to be interesting to see like what he becomes in her life and how they maneuver around each other. So, anyway, that's it for this episode of Rose City, the After Show. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on episode 4. Please don't forget to tune in next week when we will be diving into episode 5. If you haven't already read it, what are you waiting for? I mean, go ahead and get it. The first 3 episodes on Kindle Vella, the app. I have to say that because people say, I go to Kindle, and no, it's Kindle Vella, the app. So the first 3 episodes on Kindle Vella, the app, they are free. So there's no reason for you not to check it out. You don't have nothing to lose. If anything, you have something to gain. You can fall in love with an amazing story, okay? I'm sure you will be hooked, definitely. Episode 26 and 27 is already out. Episode 28 will be released here in just a couple of days. So we can't wait for you to continue on being with us here in Rose City and diving into the story and talking about all the plot twists and just even getting a chance to connect with you guys and tell you some of our personal life so that you can see how we go about creating the story. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye.